Good evening everyone, good morning, and also let's go in the middle, good afternoon. Today is Wednesday. We are now also officially starting the season in EU as well. So with the season beginning, we are going to go ahead and list a few things coming out this reset, a few things that are new compared to last week, and also the few things that we have been waiting for quite a bit, which were the Raid and Mythic Plus. Let me start immediately saying that there is really no news regarding the Raid, in the sense that nothing really has changed regarding the Raid. What we do know a little bit more of is the Valor cap regarding Mythic Plus. Now this was known. I don't know why some people pretended it was not going to happen. We are of course going to get a Valor cap as well as a Conquest cap for PvP as well. 1350 Conquest cap at the start and 550 every week increasing, and then 1500 Valor cap at the start increasing by 750 every week. So basically the same as Shadowlands, since Valor was introduced midway through Shadowlands. Many people have been complaining about this. I am personally okay with this, even though I am one of the people who could have benefited from not having a Valor cap, because not having a Valor cap, of course, severely benefits the players that can play basically 20 hours a day for the first week and giga farm low-level Mythic Plus keys to get a whole bunch of Valor. That was beneficial to them. A little bit less beneficial to players that had less time, that would get left behind in item level compared to the ones that had the time to grind. So I do think it's definitely the correct choice to have it at the start of the season, also not to devalue heroic raiding completely, for example. We might still have some debate about how much of a Valor cap we would have wanted, if this is too small, if perhaps it could have been a little bit larger. Anyways, I'm still fine with the Valor cap at the start of this season. Now, what is also new, albeit a little bit less important for players focusing on Mythic Plus, is going to be the release of the world bosses, rotating one by one every week, since we have 4 of them. And surprisingly, what a twist, given the theme of the expansion, they are all themed around the 4 primal elements. The thing worth mentioning about these 4 guys is that they drop 389 item level piece of gear, so it might actually still be useful in the first week of the season for many players. Plus, it is at the end of the day simply a world boss. It's gonna be very simple to just pop by the location of the world boss and take him down, so it's still worth doing. Personally, it would be cool if these had a little bit more than just a weekly chance at a piece of relatively low item level gear. Maybe, you know, a guaranteed Dragon Shard of Knowledge, you know, some guaranteed extra Primal Chaoses looting from these bosses. Since you only kill them once a week, maybe something extra rather than the small chance of getting a piece of gear. Still, those will be added in, going on a weekly rotation like we have got them before with previous world bosses, so it's gonna take a full month rotation to get all 4 of them defeated. Then we have balance tuning. No, this is not going to be an entire video about balance tuning, because it's just one class and spec being focused, which is Protection Warrior. Now, let's cut to the chase and point out that this extra nerf is very minor for protection. Demoralizing Shout now reduces damage taken by 20% instead of 25%, and Ignore Pain now ignores 50% of the damage taken instead of 55%. This isn't even an extra nerf compared to the 10% less damage reduction nerf that Blizzard gave all tanks, because half of that nerf given to Protection Warriors was given to Defensive Stance. And Defensive Stance is only an option for Protection Warriors. Defensive Stance is not forced on Prot Warriors, which means that if you were a warrior not using Defensive Stance, which is also something you are doing anyways, then the previous nerf to all tanks was only affecting you for basically half of it. So this extra nerf to Protection Warrior at the very best evens out the level of nerfs that the other tanks received, and even then it's arguable. It is still probably not really going to do anything, this type of nerf. Protection Warrior has other strengths than Demo Shout, damage taken reduction. It's more things like Shield Block, for example, which is very powerful at the moment for Protection Warrior, as well as the massive amount of leech and self-healing that they can gain even after it has been nerfed. So yes, it's an extra round of nerfs to Protection Warrior, and no, this is not going to move away Protection Warrior as one of the best, if not the best tank coming at the start of this season. After this, we have the addition of Primal Storms. This is going to be quite the cool addition for the more casual side of the player base, or the more collectibles hunting and transmog hunting side of the player base. Because if you played in the pre-patch even a little bit, you are definitely already aware of what these Primal Invasions are. After all, we have already gotten them all around the world just a couple of weeks ago. So basically, it's gonna be the same thing except happening in Dragonflight zones. The rotation is going to be a couple of these every 8 hours for a total of 6 of them every day, lasting for the entire week, and they function essentially the same as the Primal Invasions we got in the pre-patch. So the rewards, as I said, in terms of power, you have 2 types of currencies. One is the Elemental Overflow, which is the main common currency that you can get from drops from enemies that you can get eventually to buy all of the rewards from the event. And then you have the Storm Sigil. This is the weekly one. This is the one that drops only once a week per type of invasion. Once again, following the theme of the expansion, the invasion are fire, ice, earth, and air. So you have to make sure that once a week, at the very least, you deal with every one of these invasions to get the maximum amount of storm sigils as possible. Now, why would you want the storm sigils? You want the storm sigils because with the cheap currency, the elemental overflow, you can buy full heroic dungeon gear, which is just a measly 359 item level. However, if you collect the storm sigils, you can eventually upgrade this 359 heroic dungeon set of gear into 385. You know, as I said, you might say, dude, 385, it's barely LFR item level, it's not even normal raid item level, it's like a Mythic plus 7. True. However, there are also players who don't do Mythic plus, and even less all the way up to Mythic plus 7, and there are players who don't do normal raiding. So this is a way, a repeatable, daily repeatable way for you to do these events and get yourself eventually almost an entire set of gear at 385 item level. I believe it's only the trinkets and the rings that are missing from the vendors, so basically besides those you can get yourself a full set of almost normal raid gear without actually having to do anything other than open world content. Not to mention, open world players also have access to things like crafting to get high item level pieces of gear without having to do group content. You also can get to renown levels to get gear as a reward from there, and even the option to eventually get all the way up to renown 25 with each of the 4 factions to get a primal infusion, which you would normally only obtain from defeating heroic raid bosses or mythic plus keys above plus 11. So this is yet another extra ways for the more casual players to get something, to get some gear in the open world, while also giving you something to do, giving you activities to do in the open world, which is good because it's going to keep the player base busy, it's going to give them some goals every day, it's going to give them a reason to log in every day, which is ultimately kind of the goal of MMO developers in their game. Now, if you were wondering, yes, but I don't give a shit about any of that because I will be much higher item level than 385 in just a week, or even less than a week, so why do I even care about these? Well, you have been seeing, as I was talking about this, all of the looks, all of the transmog look of all of these sets. And the look of these sets is quite good. You know, arguably, some people might even say, looking better than the actual tier sets you will get in Season 1 of Dragonflight. So, if anything, if you don't care about these because of the item level, then you might care about these because they look quite good. They are quite high quality, they are quite high polygon counts, they are quite modern in the way they look, and I am personally a fan of them. Also, to save you some time, in case you did not care about the item level but you just wanted to collect the appearances, no, you don't have to upgrade, you don't have to keep grinding the Primal Storms to find the better currency to then upgrade all of the gear to 385 to get this look, to get this transmog. This is going to be the transmog for both rarities of gear. So whether you're buying the rare blue piece of gear or the epic, the purple piece of gear, the transmog appearance will still be the same. Of course, then besides the gear, you also have the usual type of rewards you might be accustomed to seeing in an event like this one. You have a couple of pets you can buy with Elemental Overflow, and then the mount you can buy with Elemental Overflow. The special thing worth mentioning is that enchanters, by doing each and every type of these invasions, frost, fire, earth and air, then they will also be able to get the illusions, the formulas for the illusions, and more importantly, Jewelcrafters, by doing these Primal Invasions, will have a chance to loot the design for the Elemental Lariat, which is currently, the best, the strongest piece of crafted gear you can get because of the triple socket you can put on it, and then the stat proc of the effect itself. Even though this necklace was just nerfed because of how powerful it was, it is still a very good craft, which is now becoming available to Jewelcrafters, but only if you go and do the events yourself. So don't get baited as a Jewelcrafter if you see a pesky little guy putting this design on the auction house for 50,000 gold. Just know that it comes from the Primal Invasions, so you might just as well go and do them yourself. I am pretty happy, honestly, about this event, despite the fact that I don't care too much about anything that's in there besides maybe the appearances, but then again, I play an evoker, so Transmog options, fuck me. Right? I think it's very good for the game. It is very good for the game to give players, to give the vast majority of the non-competitive, non-hand game hardcore or semi-hardcore player base something to do in the open world. We will eventually possibly talk about the even better thing coming in Dragonflight, the trading post, the new system to once again give you even more things to do in the open world. Definitely a move in the right direction with the introduction of these Primal Storms and some cool extra things you can collect, but also some pretty decent open world gear. If you consider that once it's upgraded, it will be at the very minimum better than LFR gear, better than Heroic Dungeons, better than Mythic 0 Dungeons, and even better than Mythic +6 and +7 item level. So overall, it's quite good. It's a good type of reward to give to open world style players. With this out of the way, this is what is going to come, is what is coming, I should say, in this week, besides what we already knew, i.e. the Raid being released and Mythic Plus being released. So we know about the Valor cap available in Mythic Plus, as well as the Conquest cap available in PvP rated content. Then we have the new extra bit of balance tuning, mostly worthless in terms of what it will change, to Protection Warrior. And then we have the world bosses available together with the Primal Storms available in the open world. With this said and done, it's time to leave. I have to go back to grinding my Mythic Plus keys for the day. If anyone wants to join, of course, and you know you are a Chad yourself from EU, I'm gonna be running some keys on stream as well very soon, assuming you're watching this video shortly after it's come out. So as we leave, thanks of course as usual to all of my Patreon supporters for contributing and supporting myself and this channel. You can support of course still in other free ways, liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. Lastly, you can follow me on Twitter right over there, as well as subscribing to my Patreon to get access to my Discord server. And of course, as already mentioned, I am streaming on Twitch right here at 10 p.m. roughly European time zones, 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern time zones. As a last reminder, if you want to do some keys tonight and you have a decently high enough item level and you have a decently high enough IQ, you will find me live on stream looking to queue up some keys this evening. With this out of the way, thank you guys again for watching, see you guys soon, and in the meantime, I need to go fill up the pot with water because I have to boil it for my pasta and it's already kind of getting a bit late.